Well, we're live again. It's from Studio B. After being down in Newport Beach all last week, we had a great watch party last night, didn't we, Julia?
Yeah, it was fun.
It's good fun. Welcome to all of you who are on here a little early. Ahoy, Tom and Julia. Chris Undersale on the Solent. Christopher Gillingham is. Gareth Evans, welcome. I haven't seen Gareth in a while. Petersons are back in Virginia.
Are they?
Yeah, nice to see them down there. James Dickens. Grace Holdershaw, there's a new name too. Welcome everybody, Alan Long. And we'll get this show, as we like to. Carolyn Archer! Get this one on the road. Well, that was croaky, wasn't it? On the road. On the road from the Royal New Zealand Yacht Club. Hi, everybody. Show 443 for Tuesday, the 3rd of August. This is my 12th show in 8 days.
Yeah.
So if I'm even more croutonic than usual, you'll know why, but at least I'm here with my co-host, Julie Vatican, who's got her Pindar mug going over there.
Yes, indeed.
And look at how pink your shirt is on camera 3. On camera 2, it's kind of orangey.
Yes, I don't know about that.
I don't know. My camera balancing was croutonic today, or a touch. Anyway, I'm your host, Tom Ehman. Thank you for joining us. We're delighted that you all are here for what is going to be a recap of the GovCup and a recap of the Olympics today. Today is the last day of medal racing at the Olympics in Enoshima, in just south of Tokyo, as you all know. We had a wonderful watch party last night. Not a huge throng, but dozens of people, and we watched, Julia, the medal races.
Yes.
It turned out like they call in the U.S. the Election Day Super Tuesday because there's so many of the primaries that go on for presidential nomination. Well, there are only supposed to be 2 medal races per day, and there ended up being 4 because Sunday was postponed or Monday was postponed. They pushed them all onto their Tuesday. So last night, our Monday night, we watched not 1, not 2, but 4 medal races, and we'll give you the rundown on that. But it was fun.
And it was the right way to do it.
Well, I'm glad we did all 4. We kind of
Yeah.
lucked in. As my dad always said, he'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah.
Because we were going to rush back here from Newport Beach and try to get on the air Sunday night, which, of course, there wouldn't have been anything to show because they did not race. They postponed those Sunday night, which was Monday in Japan. But we'll show you the results there. And then today, where it is now Wednesday in Japan, they're doing the 2 final medal races. The 470 men, which is already wrapped up by the Aussies, at least the gold, and then the 470 women, which has a little bit more to play for to go. But we'll have a look at all that to get on the road here with the starting line, our opening segment, and that is a shot that I've been using from GovCup from several years ago to start our starting line segment, which is about the GovCup, the 54th edition of the oldest and most prestigious Youth International Match Racing Tournament. Terrific event last week. 10 teams, not the usual 12 because of COVID. Now, it wasn't that teams couldn't get here. And the club and Dr. Rob Bray, who is the fleet surgeon down there, had a medical protocol and had vaccines and had testing, and it was marvelously done. But for some of the kids, notably the Brits and the Aussies and the Kiwis, where things getting back into the country is dicey. You have to go through the quarantine, Julie, as you would know,
Right.
and you have to pay $300 a night for 10 days or 14 days and test negative, I think when you get there, and test negative 12 days in or something. So we didn't have those 3 countries, which are normally represented at GovCup for this year's event, but nonetheless, a terrific field. And arguably the closest, Andy Rose said, as I play you what we call the B bumper, the intro video that we use on all the TV shows, arguably the closest field, maybe not the toughest field, but the closest field we've ever had at GovCup. Much better match racing than the AC by far, Bill Wingrove is saying. Hello, Don Lunabos. Welcome to you up in Sonoma. Jeffrey Peterson, as you probably a lot of you will know because you would have followed it, and thank you for those who did. Jeffrey Peterson of the host Balboa Yacht Club won it. And it's the first time, it's only the second time, I should say, in 4 decades that Balboa Yacht Club has won, the host club has won their own cup. And this is the moment when they crossed the finish line, a nice Mary Longpree photo, and then the typical hugs. And then I didn't run it here because it's a bit much, but then they all they literally hop in the water and have a frolic, and the boatswains come and rescue the boat, hold on to it until they can get the kids back into it. And then they sail into Newport Harbor, met in a parade of all the yachts, and met by of the fire boats from the fire brigade and so on. And it was a wonderful moment. Bravo Zulu to Scott Mays there on the left, Jeffrey Peterson, the skipper, in the middle, and Max Brennan, who's the middle guy and does the hiking and the trimming. And they're all superb sailors. Scott does the foredeck, and they only lost one race in the double round robin. So there's 10 teams each. They sailed the other 9 teams twice.
Yeah.
So in 18 races, they only lost once, and that was to Porter Cavalier of Annapolis Yacht Club, team that came 4th and won the Sportsmanship Award. And they lost a couple matches then in the finals in this terrific, I mean, you talk about great racing last night for the Olympics. Did you? And you watched it too, every minute.
Yeah.
And the finals, which Jeffrey won, first to win 3, best of 5, and he had to come from behind. He was down 2-1 and came back and won it 3-2.
Yeah, that was a great series.
And it was indeed. And the obligatory GovCup over the heads here shot at the prize giving in the big tent on the hard stand in the parking lot, in the boat lot outside the club. Lot of ink. Even the LA Times and Daily Pilot, which is a local Newport Harbor paper, front page above the fold, main story on Sunday. So in Sunday's paper, at least in the Daily Pilot, the Newport Beach section of the LA Times. So nice ink all over the place, and well-deserved by these teams. This was the 4th place team. This is Porter Cavalier and Co. from the Annapolis Yacht Club. These guys were a class act. They're more big boat sailors than match racers per se, and they won the Sportsmanship Award. They represented their club and really the East Coast beautifully. They just were a fantastic group. Now, Porter Cavalier's dad, Jim Cavalier, sailed in the Cup with Dennis Conner 3 times, I think 87, 92, 95. So I've known his dad. I called him David on the live stream, croutonically.
Yeah.
But bravo Zulu to them. They were in 4th. They lost in the other semifinal to these guys. Actually, they lost in the petite finale to these guys. Now, this kid on the right is from a terrific sailing family in Newport Beach. This is Newport Harbor Yacht Club's Morgan Pinckney and his team. They won the petit finale. That's the consolation bracket. The 2 losers go out of the semis, go into the consolation. This kid's only 16 years old, and he comes off as kind of a SoCal, hey, dude, everything's chill and everything's cool. But the kid is extremely bright. He was one of, if not the best guys in the press conference. Doesn't come off as glib.
Yep.
Didn't you think he came off kind of for real?
Yes.
I'm starting to sound like a Southern
I know.
kind of for real, man.
Hey, yeah.
And God, you're pink. You look great in that shirt. But your word's going to be #where's the scarf?
I know.
But we missed having the Kiwis and the Aussies and the Brits. They've always been a force in the GovCup, and hopefully they will be back next year. Bravo Zulu also then to Morgan Pinckney. But this, I don't know who's blonder. This kid on the right from Newport Harbor Yacht Club, the lighting's not quite the same in these shots. Or Emile Kiar, whom we had on a Road to the GovCup series. We did 7 of those shows, 7 of those segments, rather, for various TFE lives going up to GovCup last week. And this is Emile Kiar, soft-spoken Dane from Royal Danish Yacht Club. And his team, I thought they were going to win it. I picked them in the finals. They were consistent. They did lose 2 races in the rounds robin to Jeffrey. So Jeffrey, I kind of had their, see that?
Kinda, yeah.
Kinda.
You've been south
down to SoCal. Jeffrey did have their number. It looked like coming out of the semis. Jeffrey gets as the winner of this coming out of the rounds robin.
Yeah.
You get to choose your opponent, and he chose Morgan Pinckney as the youngest and probably least experienced, which I think was also wise. And then he ended up against Kiar here after Kiar and Co. had beaten Kavli in the other semi. And they were up 2-1. It looked like they were going to go ahead. And I won't bore you with the details of the racing. You can go watch the live stream. But the press release and the live streams that we did tell it all. But bravo Zulu to these kids.
Yeah.
They represented their country, indeed all of Europe, just beautifully. And I can't say enough about them and hope to see them back. Likewise, Jeffrey, no doubt, will be back. He's got another year or two of eligibility. Jeffrey Peterson on the right with Scott and Max in the middle, and it was a fun series. One more mention before we move on with the rest of the show. I just want to recognize the Swede, Marius Vesterlind, from the Royal Gothenburg Yacht Club, GKSS, in Göteborg, Sweden. They were my favorite crew. They were bright, personable, lots of fun. Twinkle, look at the eyes and and as I said when we did the road to the GovCup with him, he's got the best hair of the whole lot. But a class act, these kids. In fact, that was true of all 10 teams. And I can't say enough about the competition, about the job that the club did, and the competitors, especially in the 54th edition.
Gives everybody great hope.
Well, yeah, not just about the sailing or the sport, but about
kids.
The future of the world.
Yeah.
If we had more of kids like this and crews like this, more kids like this, we'd be, I think, all better off.
We got one question during the thing which says, was the governor there? And so I thought,
you know the answer to that.
I know, but why is it the Governor's Cup? And why don't you give us the 1-minute version of why it is the Governor's Cup and how it got there?
Okay, fair enough. Quick 1-minute thumbnail. Speaking of you all are making fun of it's almost gone, that where I shoved my fingernail in the jammed my finger in the door. No, I didn't get punched in the nose. No, I didn't get kicked in the butt, but it's almost grown up. Back in the 60s, the esteemed Long Beach Yacht Club started the Congressional Cup, the granddaddy of them all. Royal Bermuda Yacht Club's, the Gold Cup is also up there, has been in different iterations over the years. It started out as a dinghy race, as a fleet race. But the Congressional Cup in the 60s, it was the match racing championship other than the America's Cup. And people came from across the U.S. to compete in it, the likes of Ted Turner and Dennis Conner and, of course, Andy Rose and many others. And then it gradually became international to where Taylor Canfield, who's now going to be sailing, it looks like, for the New York Yacht Club, Mike Buckley, have won it several times. So it's still match racing and still is a footpath, if that's the right word, the stepping stone into the America's Cup for many sailors. A couple of years after the Congressional Cup was started, the Balboa Yacht Club, just a few miles south of Long Beach Yacht Club down in Newport Beach, had the brainwave to start a youth match racing tournament, regatta, based on, similar to the Congressional Cup. So they started the Governor's Cup. The then governor, later the president of the U.S., Ronald Reagan, was asked if he would mind donating a cup. And, of course, there are Governor's Cups up, down, left, right, and center on various sports. But if you go Google Governor Google Cup, if you go Google Governor's Cup, you will see that this pops up right at the top. And, of course, Balboa Yacht Club down there in Corona del Mar, which is a village in Newport Beach, does a marvelous job. Boy, we got a lot of people on here, Julia.
Good.
We want to shout out to all the sponsors. This club does it like Long Beach Yacht Club with hundreds of volunteers, maybe something on the order of 300 volunteers. And they can't do it without big sponsors, including their fleet surgeon, Rob Bray, who runs the Sports and Spine Newport Beach medical company. It's a surgical surgery that he's a brilliant doctor. He's been taking care of Jimmy Spithill and many other famous sports men and women for years, disc spine, sports and spine, and he contributes quite a chunk to make everything possible, including the television. And I called this, and don't be offended, any of you watching who are members of this team, and of course I am as well with Andy, and it's an amateur act because all 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and there were a few more not pictured, in this team, between the drone pilots and the drone, we have one guy who does nothing. Where is he? Tall guy there. He's in the back behind Andy, and over Andy's left shoulders. We're looking at it. Oh, hey, I can go to camera 4.
Yeah.
Look at that. So this guy back here with a frown on his face, he's a very bright guy called Trevor Gurley, and he does nothing but stand on the front deck of Adios and launches and retrieves the drones, because there's two of them. You have to send one drone up, it gets the shots until its battery runs out, and then you cycle and put the other one up. So he's a busy boy. But the whole group is an amateur act, as I call them. Nobody's paid. Everybody, some of us have more experience in TV than others, but not much. And the club does for virtually, other than the capital costs of buying the equipment, virtually nothing, whereas other clubs are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars each year just for the talent and the production crew and so on. And we're now being consulted by people, maybe insulted too, Julie, I'm not sure.
We don't read those.
But we are being consulted by clubs and asking for advice all over the place. And of course, without Andy's leadership and Chris Bretschker, and so this wouldn't be happening. And remember, you don't have to start out with a big fancy boat like this Navigator 54 that Chris Bretschker's parents make available to us. That's our broadcast platform. We don't do this in a sound studio in London or back at the club. We do it out on the water so we can look around as the commentators and see what's going on. But back to my point a moment ago, we started out holding an iPhone up with little white triangles on the horizon and then hooking a mic into it, and then year by year gradually, because in those days you couldn't live stream except off a phone. That was 5, 6, 7 years ago now. I can't even remember. So bravo Zulu to them. We did do 9 shows over the course of the week, Monday through Saturday, and we've had a cum of something north of 7,400 views over those 9 live shows. And of course, I did our Tuesday TFE live at the club last Tuesday. That was fun. But there you have it, the America's Cup in the middle with the Congressional Cup on the right and the GovCup on the left. And I did hear, I think I said this on Tuesday's show, I did hear one wag who was a young guy, big, strong, buff guy, and he was surrounded by women. They had nothing to do with the regatta, but they were at the club having cocktails, and he said, "Oh yeah, the Governor's Cup." And the ladies, the women were asking about it. He said, "Oh yeah, I know all about the Governor's Cup. It's the America's Cup, but for kids." Notwithstanding, they're in identical boats provided by the club and so on. Julie, let's stop there and see who is here. And say hi to Debbie Fournier, Paul Homchick. Bill Shore's become a regular. Thanks, Bill. Jack Sangmeister. Jack, it was nice to have you on with your brothers and your dad last night watching the watch party, which, by the way, we did that on Zoom. I couldn't take and thanks to Peter Stevenson, Pedro Foiling Sailor in Sydney, trying to figure out how to live stream.
Legally.
Well, not legal. Well, it was legal because it was a private party, but to figure out what source. NBC's not showing the racing live in this country. BBC wasn't showing it live in the UK. CBC in Canada wasn't. Even TVNZ, not ETN, TVNZ was not showing it live, and they were jumping around. But this 7 News Australia, this not ABC, which is their public network, but the private network, 7 Australia 7, Color 7, I think it used to be called when they sponsored Ian Murray in his Sydney Harbor 18, his Ideen. The network had a website, and you could watch live. That rights holder in Australia was carrying live all of the feeds from all of the sports in Japan. So last night we were able to get on there, find that, and it was not easy to get the website to come up, and you have to use a VPN, you have to sign on, and it took me a couple hours yesterday to get that all dialed in. And then as we were about to go live last night at 8:30 with our watch party, you remember that? Yeah. And the website from Australia is overwhelmed, and they said, "We have technical problems, we're not," and oh God, we got all these people on here waiting to watch it live.
Right. But
it came good. Thanks again to Peter Stevenson, who gave us the link. And he was watching also some other stuff, and we had tomorrow's news today because Peter was watching it and had kind of and John Emmett in Tokyo in Oshima at the sailing venue, and they were telling us what was about to happen, and people were saying, no, don't tell us, we don't want to be, because the racing was terrific. We did 4 hours of live watch party last night. And you and I think we finally had a final about midnight just as the racing was concluding.
Yeah.
and maybe one or two adult beverages in the meantime, didn't we?
Yeah.
One anyway.
One, yeah.
When the bartender of the Beach Street Yacht Club came over and serviced us.
Made us drink it, yeah.
Made me a dinner, which was nice. You'd already eaten before you came down.
Yep.
But it was good fun. I can't show it. I'd like to stick it up on YouTube or air it, but I can't because it's the rights holder TV, and I'd get flicked from YouTube and or Facebook if I showed it to you. But I commend to you when you can watch. If you have a VPN, you can go on Channel 7 in Australia, and they've got the replays. And I'm sure NBC and others, unilaterals as they call them in the television world, will also BBC, whoever else are the rights holders. But these 4 medal races last night,
they were really good.
They were about as good as it gets in sailing. I mean, that's saying a lot, especially for somebody who's not like me, like I, who are not fond of the medal race, right?
Although I would put up the GovCup finals too.
Well, the GovCup, it was marvelous too, but it was, it was a match race, and we had a 4-ring circus last night. It was great fun.
Yeah.
Great fun. Okay, anybody else on here? Kenneth Moran, Talbot Wilson. Tell us, Talbot, is Pensacola Yacht Club going to be American Magic's challenging club in the next cup if American Magic goes forward? Graham Sweeney's in Shetland. Nice. Forrest Peterson, he's back and forth with and Denise Peter. Gov hair gel would not have welcome in that crowd. I don't know what that means. No, there's private jokes going on here as often. There's João Alexander down in South America, in Brazil, right? Or is he in Portugal? I don't know why I can't remember that. Sorry, João. Matthias, Colin saying, Tom, you should add all 4 names in New York. Yeah, I apologize for that. And the only reason I didn't is I didn't have time. And as you will remember, I ran all 4 names of the sailors, or 3. Most of the crews were 3, except Newport Harbor had a 4-person team. I ran all of them last Tuesday, ran them all in the shows. I was the one who read them on the live shows, and we've gone through them. And I apologize. I just simply didn't have time to go grab them again and make up the lower thirds this morning after being on the air last night till after midnight.
I know.
So
yeah.
But you're right. You're absolutely right, Matthias, and I apologize for that. The lower thirds, as we call them, and the captions for those shots should always, and I'm as big a proponent, if not the biggest proponent, of putting cruise names and by the way, one of the few classes that does that, and of course the GovCup, when every picture we send out has the cruise names, but one of the few classes that always includes the sailors' names with the photos is the fin class, and that's one guy in the boat. Some of the other Olympic classes are pretty good at it too, but you've got to include cruise names, those of you doing PR. And hey, that reminds me. I was asked down in Newport Beach when we, Julie, are going to do another PR show. And since Talbot Wilson's on here, 2 of our most popular shows ever were the shows we did with Talbot Wilson doing, hey, I'm a professional PR guy. This is what I do. And I think that was actually the second show. The first show was Bernie Wilson saying, I'm a professional writer. And he writes for the AP, our longtime friend and Fozy, Bernie Wilson, been on this show any number of times down in San Diego. And he's saying, here's what I wish clubs and classes would do for me, regattas would do for me. And I think we should reprise that, because I'm told that, I'm told that people, and they're not blowing smoke up my skirt, there's no reason to, that they refer to those 2 shows because they're in perpetuity, of course. And go look at this. This was pretty good. And maybe we can do a shorter synopsis at some point with Talbot Wilson and Bernie. Tell us if that would be helpful, everybody, and we'll pull that together. David Richard Morris is saying, Julia, that the Dane, meaning Emil Kiar, was awesome at the post-event presser. He was. And Jeffrey, Jeffrey's kind of not, I won't say slick. He's glib. He's outgoing, he's good looking, as is Emil, and all the kids were just great. But Emil was particularly good. Remember, he's ESL. Yeah. But the kids in Scandinavia, we've said this before, they're very smart in Scandinavia, because instead of taking, as they do in Germany, which, living in Germany for 8 years helped me learn German, but they run English shows, TV and movies in Germany, and they voice them, some actor voices them in German. Not the Scandinavians, by law, and in fact, I think the Low Countries as well. If you take a British or an American, an English language, Aussie, Kiwi, English language TV show, you have to leave it in English and then put local language subtitles. And if you're hearing it, That's half the battle. It's like the old story. If you want to learn a language, the best way is through
the pillow talk.
Pillow talk.
I know.
You got to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend with whom you whisper
It works.
sweet nothings.
Oh, it does work.
Is that how you learned German with your late great husband?
Of course.
Well, I tried to learn Mandarin, but I didn't have any pillow talk with anybody who was a Chinese speaker. Else maybe I had a Mandarin tutor for 10 years. It was terrible. Sound as you will, the kid showed his serious skills on the court. Yes, indeed. Hey, Mark Wharton Reed's back in his hometown of Spring Lake, southwestern Michigan. Who else is here? Hello from Squib Fleet Dinner. Yeah, I saw that, Sammy Dotolo Lloyd. The Squib Fleet was having. Of course, it's Cows Week.
Oh.
Cows Week. And that's another reason why some of the Brit kids didn't want to come to GovCup, because they could normally fly back on Sunday, get back to Cows Week and race. But if you have to go into quarantine for 10 days or 2 weeks.
And pay $300 a month.
Yeah, I mean, the money aside.
Mm.
Yeah, a much needed win. Yeah, this is Kimball and from Proud Mama and Papa too, but Denise Peterson, who were there. It was a barn burner. I think Denise is making fun of me because I use that expression. As a Michigander, I'm sure that others in the upper Midwest, including, I'm sure, who else is on here? Mark Reed, I'm sure, uses that. Who else, Julia? Ted Ryman's in sunny Cape Town. Who else?
Ken Saban is
He's from the upper Midwest. He's from Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
Is he on?
Yeah, about 14 times.
I don't know why that happens.
I don't know.
The Musser connection is that didn't used to happen.
No.
Kimball Livingston has asked a very good question. He's saying, "Who was happiest, Jeffrey or Denise or Forrest?" The proud parents of Jeffrey.
And the answer was,
I think they were all equally happy. Jeffrey was very restrained and did not. The kid's great. He's a regular contributor here. We're very proud of him.
He was answered, which said, Kimball Livingston asked who was happiest, and Forrest said, that's close, but it was probably Jeff.
I hope so. I'm sure. Baton Rouge, I love that name.
Uh-huh.
Charlie Hart, Commodore Hart. Your name came up down there, Commodore Hart.
Yes.
I'll give you a bell. I'll give you a bell and tell you what that was all about. Interesting questions. Susan Watson Kenny, who is the esteemed PR for GovCup. Hi, I miss our daily back and forth endeavors, or do I? Yeah. Andy Rose, who's the GovCup guru and does so much for that event financially and otherwise, and he just puts so many hours into it, including he drafts the press releases. And we're actually, Susan, I don't know, if we're going to try to find somebody else to do the drafting, especially on Friday and Saturday, because it's very hard to do all we do, the commentary, and I'm doing 3 shows a day, producing, writing, directing, hosting. And I don't call it editing because that's too heavy a word. I polish Andy's prose. Mm-hmm. I'm the prose polisher. So Andy sends it to me, I polish it, and I depending if it's been a long day, I may have to do more than polish it, but then I send it to Susan Kenny, who gets the pictures and gets it on the website with the club's PR and gets it out. So Susan, thank you for the great job. It's just a wonderful, all of your clubs are like this. It's not just us. Talbot Wilson can tell you what goes on down there at Pensacola Yacht Club. Bill Wingrove can tell you about Tampa. You all know how important volunteers are at your respective clubs in regatta. Jody Shields, how good has it been to have something to cheer about instead of all the gloom that we have had to endure lately? Jody came on last night on the watch party as well. Yes, James Dickens, the 470s are today, Wednesday. It is what time in Tokyo? I don't have my clock up. They're -8 to us, so it's 05:30 tomorrow, 05:30 Wednesday in Tokyo. And the medal races are at 1:30, I think.
AM or PM?
Well, it's now 1:30 p.m. local.
Yeah.
So it's 5:30 there now in the morning. So, 8 hours. Mm-hmm. Very happy with gold medals, Tina and Kunze. Yes, Carlos Aviz, you should be, and congrats to you. And it's nice to see how many I'm going to show you the medal count of all the countries. Everybody's, from major countries have won medals, except...
Yes.
Unfortunately.
The USA.
You can do it. I don't know, my mother, Janice, my beloved mother, Janice F. Davis. You can do it. Keep on keeping on. I don't know what that's all about, Mom.
I was trying to figure that out, too.
She's talking probably to somebody else. She doesn't talk to me.
That's not true.
I know. Fritz Mueller in Rating Miami. Mueller. Do you say Mueller or Mueller, Fritz? Hello from Sydney, 14-day course. See, there's Rod Hagg, who's just returned to Sydney. And sorry, man, all of you, the problems you're having in Oz, and 200 cases, 250 cases a day to us here doesn't sound like much, because we're getting the big Delta spike, and we've now been advised to wear masks indoors here, and some places are mandating it.
Yes.
New York just passed a rule. The city of New York, did they not, just pass a rule that you have to have a vaccine passport to go into restaurants?
Proof. Yeah.
Well, no, you have to have proof, which is the passport, the card that the state health department or somebody gives you. I don't know who. Bobby Steele was a big help. He's just signing in from Newport, Newport Beach. And he's saying, yes, we did. It was an astonishing week. It must be climate change, or it must be global warming. Yes, we had 5 days in a row of not the usual 6 to 12 Newport Beach weather, Julia, but we had, as you know from the video, we had 10 to 17.
It was great.
Couple puffs. But it was champagne sailing conditions. Loath though we are to use that term. Henry Thorpe's in Portsmouth in the UK. Good keeping a bit of pro GBR into this morning Zoom session. Yeah, Henry, thanks for joining us last. Look at all the hearts up. Bill Wingrove, apologies, my eyes did not cooperate staying open for the Zoom party. We had fun on that Zoom party. There were some really interesting comments. Bruce Nelson was on. Peter Stevenson down in Sydney had a fair few good comments, and it was no need to apologize, but gosh, it was fun. Those of you who couldn't make it, we missed you. Peter says, who needs sleep with the Olympics on? He's up early. It's -7 there, so he is 6:30 in the morning. He always is up early. Okay, let's get on with speaking of the Olympics. But before we do that, Julie, do you want to say?
Don't miss the opportunity to like, follow, and share.
And remember, too, comments are welcome. The more comments that we get in these shows, the better it is for the Facebook algorithm. And we leave comments open in replay as well, as many more of you watch it in replay in your own time zones and when you're not at work. Please do support us on Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Give us $5 or $10 a month. I do, when I get a minute, Julia, I do want to go back, and there's another site that buys a coffee. And it's just kind of a one-time thing. You want to, $3.85 doesn't buy you a Starbucks these days. But if somebody wants to toss $5 your way, you could buy. You don't have a scarf on today.
I know.
Bloody bright pink, beautiful shirt though. Sorry, I gotta fix that camera.
Yeah. No, I just decided to change one day.
I think you're entitled to that. The Olympics, shall we? Talbot Wilson says, I know nothing. Who was that? Sergeant Schultz in...
Nothing, yeah.
I know nothing. What was that? Hogan's Heroes?
Yes.
I know nothing. And then they had the takeoff on him in Laugh, Boy, We Are Dating Ourselves. And the guy had the German World War II helmet on, and he had the cigarette that he held like this. And he said, very interesting.
Yeah.
Why am I in such a good mood? Because I didn't get any sleep last night.
Thank
you, Stuart Skaggs. Now, here you go. Yeah, Richard Morris, David, we all agree. Richard Morris, crew more than matters. They're a part of the team and important. In fact, I will reprise those because I'm such a crouton, I'll reprise those slides of those kids on Friday's show with the full names, as I did on last Tuesday's show, and with the help of Denise Peterson, who sat there and helped me identify all of them quickly. I appreciated that, Denise. She was with me in Balboa Yacht Club where I ran that show last Tuesday. Stuart Skeggs has kindly added the link to the 7 Plus, which is what I guess they call the digital offering of News 7 down in Australia. There's the link, and right to the sailing. Thank you, Stuart.
Oh, that's great. Thank
really
you.
Great.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate it. And Susan Kenny agreeing how wonderful Emil Kiar was. Ken Saban in Toledo saying such disturbance in the force out on the East Coast. Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people in this country upset that, here let's don't talk about it. Bill Canfield, President Canfield, U.S. Virgin Islands. Jay Rendell was on the watch party last night. Jay, thanks for joining. Just joined today. Had to take grandson to sailing school. Good for you. In Bobby Steele making fun of me talking about the Commonwealth languages in Aussie, that would be Queen's English, Ausspeak, slang and colloquialism sound. I don't know what that means. Bro Yovchev. Next AC old story. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a sec. GovCup hair gel. Okay, that's a private joke. Not making fun of you, Tom. We use that expression all the time. I don't know what that means. Clark Chave running a bit late today. I had to go down the street to the hospital clinic and get a pint of. Yeah, Clark's got that blood situation where he produces too many red blood cells, so he's got to go. I don't know if they use leeches in Michigan. We're kind of backward in Michigan. Clark, do they use leeches to drain your red blood cells? No, he's got that iron-rich.
Which has got to be good.
Colonel Clink. Well, no, it's Steve Ross. Colonel Clink was the colonel, but the guy it was Sergeant Schultz, wasn't it, who said,
Colonel,
I know nothing. Matthias Collins, comments matter than Crutonic comment. Buenos Aires, sunny, 10 to 50. Thank you for adding that. Beautiful day down there in your winter, South America. Artie Johnson, right. It was Artie Johnson who was playing the guy on Laugh-In with a very interesting on Laugh-In.
Interesting.
Very interesting. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Crutonic comment number 2, we still have to sail on brown waters here. Well, clean those waters up. How's your, Matthias, down in Argentina, how is your COVID situation? Hope you guys, and now we've got the Lambda, which apparently came out of Peru, didn't it, Julia?
I haven't seen that.
I think Lambda came out. I think that was what, they don't like to call it the Peru variant, or in England, the Kent variant, which was the first one. Anthony Payne, James Dickens, Clark Chapin, no leeches, not too many red cells, but too much iron. Okay, so it's the iron they have to drain off. Well, Michigan, I was teasing. Dan Nolan. Oh, Dan. Olympics. Let's get on with the Olympics. We got some videos going back 2 days because these are the world sailing videos. They're nice videos, but they can't use any video. It's all images, and the images are nice. What is that? That Ken Burns effect. Thank you, Julia. And they do the Ken Burns effect with the zoom and the pan using the stills, and it's pretty nice. And they put in these captions. Unfortunately, they don't voice it. But here is from 2 days ago and covering the RSX final day. Day 7. Kieran Badlow. What a horse he is. Fantastic performance. We've got to fix OCS, on-course side, premature starters. This is no way to run a sport, folks, where they don't know until some jury boat comes alongside and says, you're out, get off the course, you're over early. Marseille, where the next Olympics will take place in only 3 years' time. With Tia Camboni, Kunbai, Chinese sailor took the bronze. And this is just more recap. These weren't medal race days. So that was the next day for the 49ers. 2 days later, actually. But the next day didn't happen. Postponed due to lack of wind.
Scott did a really good job coming through.
Yeah, and we're going to tell you about all that. So that was day 7, was it? Now, by the way, those of us who are critical of world sailing for asking for submissions of their own watch parties in the various countries, now that we know how they're using them, in these videos. I think it's great. I think it was terrific treatment. And those of you watching connected with GovCup or other regattas, I think we should be asking for same. Submit, because it's real easy. For GovCup, I inserted videos from several of the GovCup alum. Will Bolden down in Perth, Matt Whitfield from the UK, because they weren't there and there weren't any of their countrymen there. In fact, even Leo Takahashi sent one, as did Harry Price. And having those, they just sat there with their camera in the TikTok mode, meaning in the vertical. Please turn your camera sideways and shoot 16:9. It's not hard. But nonetheless, it's more important to have it. You put it on the screen. And we use that in GovCup, and I like the way World Sailing used this. Here's day 8's recap. In fact, half of it is the ladies' laser, so-called Ilka 6.
It was good for me. It was a good position to be in, but I got a lot of seaweeds in my baler, so I couldn't bail all the water out. And that was a little bit unusual for this place. I've never seen so much seagrass inside my boat, so I was a little bit surprised, and I couldn't get it out. So that created some extra pressure for me on that first downwind. And then the right shift came where I wasn't prepared for that either. So I saw these two amazing girls behind me, besides me, overtaking me, and that created a lot of stress. But yeah, I'm happy that I kind of stayed cool and sailed as much as I could. I gave it all. I gave it my all, and yeah.
The fans watching around the world, Rendon put praise on them and the Japanese people.
Really stoked that all of us could show the whole world how great sailing is. And I think that's actually the most important thing to me, to show all the kids at home that sailing is just, it's truly an amazing sport. And we don't have so many options to do that. And I think that's unfair. And I really hope in the future that we have more opportunities like this. So many friends and families and people at home writing to me and saying, wow, this sport is so great, and finally we can watch it. And that's just, yeah, it's I'm honored to be in the sport because I love sailing. It's yeah. A big thank you for letting this Olympic happen. I think we all were in a doubt that it was going to happen or not, and it's truly amazing that in these times that it can just, that they made it happen. I'm so stoked. I'm so happy. It's amazing. There's not so many words. Like, it's undescribable how happy I am. I think all of us have worked so hard to be here. So for that dream to fall apart, if it didn't happen, it would be just unbearable. So I'm super happy that all of this that all people made it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, bravo, Zulu. She's just in the Low Countries and the Scandinavian countries. I mean, it's one thing for a big country like Germany, the UK, and Australia, but maybe not big in terms of population. Australia's got what, 15 or 20 million people. Germany's got close to 90 million, don't they, Julia?
Yes, but Australia's a little bit bigger than that now too.
Well, it's just amazing how successful Denmark is, for example, and the Netherlands. Bravo, Zulu. Bravo, Zulu. Here's the other half of the lasers from a couple days ago, and Matty Wearn from Australia, the Golden Boy.
Pedro Forningsator, who just said there was an earthquake tremor at the Olympics.
Just now?
Yeah.
God forbid.
But a tremor.
A tremor.
I think that's not big news.
I mean, I have tremors every...
I know that.
No, I don't. I'm teasing. Okay, thanks for that, Peter. I hope everybody's okay in Enoshima or whatever happened, and maybe I hope it's not a bad one, a biggie, somewhere far away from Enoshima. But let's look at this video with Matty Wearn, the gold medalist from Australia in the laser. Slingsby in 2012, Tommy Burton in 2016 at Rio, and now Matt Wearn from Perth.
Yeah, it hit me pretty hard when we were standing behind the dice. And again, when the national anthem was being played. It's obviously such a privilege to win a gold medal and to continue the legacy for Australia in the laser as well. It's such an honour, and yeah, I mean, all the heartache, all the sacrifices, it all feels amazing now. It's all been a bit crazy today, but I know they'll be back home partying hard and celebrating on my behalf back there, and yeah, I can't wait to get back tonight and have a chat to mum and dad and the rest of the family, and share this experience. Obviously, not a great way to start an event, let alone the Olympics. You can't give any of the guys in the fleet any points, and there was plenty of points to be had on that first day. So it wasn't really the focus after day 2. We just sort of went out to race our best and continue our processes, and it was obviously just fortunate enough to put together a few good days, and just sort of let the results sort themselves out in the end, and it was lucky enough to have won with a day to spare, but it was looking pretty bleak after that first day.
Lucky enough to have won. He is good enough, and the coaching in Australia, Peter Stevenson or others on here will remind me the name of this guy who's been coaching the laser sailors to now 3 successive gold medals. I mean, excuse me. The only thing that tops that is what the Brits have done in the Finn class. Matty Wearn, I don't know. I've met him, but I don't know him. I would never say that I know him, but here he is hauling his boat back up on the hard after winning the gold. And of course, all he had to do, there was no way he was going to lose unless he didn't show. You have to show for the medal race, or else you'll be disqualified. And he, of course, did and went around the track. But he's from Perth. He's a member of all 3 or 4 of the clubs out there, Royal Perth Yacht Club, as well as Royal Freshwater Bay, and even the Fremantle Sailing Club, or so I read in his CV. Because I go to check those things so that when I do the lower third, not only do we get the name and usually the crew, again, that we should do that, but I like to say where they're from and their hometown, and especially their hometown yacht club. I said, is he Royal Perth? Is he Royal Freshwater? Is he a freshie? No, it turns out he's a member of all the clubs out there. They're all claiming him as one would, but he is a Perth boy. And by reputation, again, I don't know him other than to have met him once or twice. He is apparently a hell of a nice guy and obviously a great competitor. There it is. Michael Blackburn, Blackers as they call him, has been the coach, and he's the medal maker, like they used to call the Russian who was such a great coach. Glenn Van Heel's joining us. Don Lunabos is watching. Hello, Don. World Sailing is doing a nice job on the videos, but I wish someone with some influence could persuade them to update the match rate. There's Proud Mama, whose boy now has got to be up, and then there's already 4 months old. World Sailing's got lots of problems, financial and otherwise. Their comms director, I think I told you on here, Daniel Smith, who is really a top-notch guy. He's an Australian, been working for, 10 or 12 years for World Sailing. He's also an ice hockey player, believe it or not, or so he tells me. He's leaving. He's the comms director, and he is first rate, so he's got a better opportunity, or so he told me a couple weeks ago. Bravo Zulu, Matt Wearn. And now let's go to last night as we were watching it, here for the finals of what became Super Tuesday. Again, we have these presidential primaries, and there's one after, a couple months, a month or so, when a whole bunch of these primaries come on the same day. And that usually is pretty indicative of who's going to get nominated in the 2 parties, because there's so many of these things. But there were, by accident, fully four medal races last night. Have a look. was one of the closest Olympic races. This finish is worth going back and watching in the 49ers. The Germans had beaten the Brits, and the Kiwis would have got the gold. Tuke and Burling. 470s are happening today. I don't know what the weather forecast. Maybe somebody there at the venue can tell us, or those who are looking at the forecast. Hopefully it's raceable today for the 470 men and women, two separate classes, the two final medal races today. Speaking of Blair and Pete, they were my favorites. They were a lot of people's favorites indeed. I mean, not just favorites because we like them, but also many people expected them to repeat Rio. They were silver in 2012 in the 49er, gold in Rio 2016, and then we expected them, many people did, me included, to be gold this time around, but they have to settle for silver. That's good. That's a little alliteration.
Yeah.
Settle for silver.
Yeah, but they did really well. They were over early, and they did a great job.
Well, they did, and so too did Giles Scott.
Yes.
Sailed very well. But they are, I mean, to say nothing of the fact that in the meantime they've sailed a race around the world since they won gold in 2016 Rio. They've gone. They did the ocean race, what was then the Balboa ocean race, and they won the America's Cup not once but twice.
Yes. 2017
and 2021. So full marks to them. Big disappointment, but you know, in the history of their sailing careers,
and
silver, gold, silver ain't bad, eh?
Yeah. And weren't they doing the?
And now they've got the Sail G exactly.
They Sail GP.
Now they've got the Kiwi Sail GP team, which is a bit of a distraction, I'm sure, for their Olympic program. But nonetheless, they're doing it. Julie, you see this comment from Clark Chapin about the?
Yeah.
You want to read that?
The earthquake, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Magnitude 4.7 off the coast of Japan at 2021. UTC 0400.
Yeah, that's today, 2021-08-03. So,
yeah. It's the latest, according to the U.S. Coast Guard.
No, U.S. Geological Service, right?
Geological Service, right.
I think he's got I think that was a typo. USGS, Clark. Come on, you're confusing my co-hostess here, Clark.
Yeah, no, and
Matthias Collins is asking the key question: are there any tsunami warnings?
Well, they haven't posted any.
Didn't see one on the website. Okay, well, keep an eye on that. We don't want a tsunami going through the bloody Olympic sailing venue.
4.7 is not so.
Well,
so
true.
much.
It's nothing to write. Well, it's not. It's not generally a big tsunami, but of course, as you all know, the tsunami-producing stuff is how deep they are
and where they are.
A whole bunch of other factors today. In addition to Blair and Tuke in these races last night, we're going to get to the Finn class in a minute. These two from Italy have dominated all week. It looked like they were a shoo-in, not quite. They had to do somewhat well yesterday in the medal. I can't remember the details, but Nacra gold goes to Caterina, Banti, who's the crew there on the left, and Rugerro Tita from Italia. Bravo Zulu, beautiful job. They sailed so well all week. A lot of us were probably polling for for your crew down there, Matthias, the Argentinian crew, Santi Lanja, to repeat his gold from Rio, but that was not to happen. He had a pretty tough regatta, but considering his battle with cancer and losing a big chunk of his lung, which had happened before he won his gold in Rio, I think the big thing for Santiago Lanja was that he was in this class before it became a foiling class, and then they've changed the class, changed the boards, and it's really a different class now. But bravo Zulu to them. Nonetheless, the Italians sailed beautifully, Banti and Tita, and they have been feted. They're huge, popular sports persons in Italy today. Before we go, we're going to do a Finn thing here.
A
Finn thing because, well, I know. Very fond of the Finn class. I think it's a disaster that we've kicked them out.
Yes.
of our sport out of the Olympics, and I even think they will return. In fact, if those of you who were on the watch party last night will know that a certain gentleman came on and made a prophetic, what I think is quite a prophetic statement, John Sangmeister, who's been very involved in the 2028 games build-up because he lives down there in Long Beach, which is where the sailing will take place 2028. Next Olympics in only 3 years' time is in Marseille, because the main Olympics, if the main's the right word, the majority of the Olympic events will be in Paris.
Correct.
Surfing's going to be down in the South Pacific someplace, not Fiji, but one of the French.
Tahiti.
Is it Tahiti? My God. Cool stuff. But John Sangmeister, who's talking with senior serious people in U.S. sailing and elsewhere, thinks that there could well be because the host has some wallop, some whack, some influence in what events take place in a given Olympic Games. And John Sangmeister, is hoping and thinking that the fin will be back and that the double-handed offshore event will happen. But the way John wants it to happen, and I think he's right, he wants it to happen in supplied boats that are identical, either the Caterina 37s that Long Beach already has and uses for the GovCup, or for the Congressional Cup, or use the GovCup 22s, tow them up from Newport Beach, and use them in an event where you take sailors from a given country that are already there at the Olympics, and maybe even a medal, but maybe not, and then put them into those boats so they get another event like you do in swimming and track and field, athletics, so that we have the possibility finally of some sailors winning more than one medal at a given games.
And stay true to IOC of not increasing the number of athletes.
Exactly right. Does not increase the number of athletes. Medals, as Sangmeister said last night on the watch party, medals are not the cost. You can stamp out medals and hand them out, to, as Commodore Anderson used to say, to the fairly well. But increasing the number of athletes when the event is already overburdened with too many athletes, are well above the 10,000 that they had been trying to limit it to which they were trying to limit it in the past. So add events, but with the same athletes, which I think is a capital idea, a great idea, John Sangmeister, and I hope that happens. That's probably got so. There's Sangmeister on here commenting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope the surfing venues, they're doing the rock climbing. Is the surfing over? Somebody will know. Dude, surf's up if there's a tsunami. I hope there's not a tsunami. John Sangmeister, match racing, mixed gender, double-handed, offshore mixed gender. Yep, fin back in, absolutely. So Sango was he had some pretty heavy language last night about the people running the sport and their political proclivities. And I largely agree with him. I mean, I do agree with him. And Rick Rundle is saying, while you're at it, bring the star back.
Laser.
Well, the laser is back.
Yeah.
I mean, the laser's not going anywhere. The laser's the most popular other than maybe the Optimus in the world. Julie, any other comments? Ricky Tag is here, we've mentioned. Okay, I'll tell you, before I go to this fin segment, I just want to do one other Bravo Zulu. You know who that is and what this is? This is the TV trailer, they call it, on the Olympic venue in Enoshima. And you don't see casts of thousands there. And there's some other production officials, and they've got all those people out on the water. But in the foreground left, and I didn't have time to put a caption on it, I got this just before we went to air. That's Dennis Harvey, the esteemed Kiwi television producer. He's in the producer station. He's not directing the show. Probably the guy in front of him is. But he's whispering in the guy's ear, literally, through his comms, and calling the big picture strategy for the show. And then the director is making it happen with his technical director there on the left and probably a sound guy over there on the left, far left. Dennis Harvey. This guy is the real deal. And it's great that he's there. I thought the vision, that's the first time since I was busy with GovCup, it's the first time I really had time to watch that television, that live TV, and it was live. And you can argue with some of the stuff as we did last night, didn't we, Julia?
Yes.
Like the helicopter noise was crutonic. And as Bruce Nelson said, we want to listen to the sailors. And then when we have to listen, to the commentators, okay, they're adding to it. Peter Lester from New Zealand, Jenny Tulloch, and then I'm not sure who the other commentator was, a Brit. But they added, their commentary was pretty okay. It was fine. But the helicopter noise, like they needed to fill this up and make it sound like, was Crutonic. Okay, dial it down, have a little bit in the background every time you put a helicopter shot on, which is kind of standard TV news approach. But you don't need that. I'd rather hear the water on the hull, the sails. I'd rather hear the sailors cursing at each other. No, you can hear the sailors. And, you know, if you speak Spanish and English and maybe one or two other languages, as a lot of you from the Low Countries do. Anyway, I thought it was great. I would just want to give a Bravo Zulu to Dennis Harvey. He's the only guy with Dennis. Did Dennis Thatcher spell his name with one N? Margaret Thatcher's husband, I think, spelled his name with one N. Dennis, D-E-N-I-S. Don't spell my name with two N's. Harvey from New Zealand, America's Cup Olympic vet, and Bravo Zulu to him. Okay, Julia, any other comments before we move forward?
Yeah, David Rowe says, Tom and Julia, for last night. Thanks for last night. And I was Dave's iPad.
Oh, that's who that was.
I mirrored via Apple to my 60-inch TV. It was awesome. Thank you both.
Yeah, and again, for a lot of people can't watch the racing live unless you've got a VPN and know, as we found out from Peter Stevenson, Pedro Foiling Sailor, where it is available on TV7 in Australia. It was great. I'm sorry, when we take it here, and I take it in on a computer, on a website, and then put it up in the broadcast software, let me get rid of this. You know, it's down coming in on one computer, going up on the broadcast software. Why am I on that shot? I'm trying to be on that shot. Here on the big screen and the new Mac Mini, and then sending it over to another computer, which is putting it up on Zoom. Problem, this is all great quality, but once you go to Zoom, the TV gets compressed and downgraded, and I'm sorry at your ends, it probably wasn't as crystal clear as it was for us here. Okay. Thanks, David Rowe, for identifying yourself. We were wondering who that was.
Yes.
Surfing Gold, Carissa Moore, Hawaii Opens. What's this? Bobby Steele. Okay, Bobby. Thank you for that. So no NBC coverage of sailing. Marcos Feinstein, thank you for that. Marcos, good to see you down in Orange County. No, NBC is covering it every night at, I think, 2200 or 2230 Eastern time. And Gary Jobson is in a sound booth in one of the NBC studios, I guess in NBC Sports Studio in Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, or thereabouts. And he's watching highlights, a highlights package that some editor, probably some junior editor, has put together of the sailing, and he's voicing it. He's probably written the script himself, or somebody's helped him write it. Gary's very good writer. He's a very good writer, and of course he knows the sport. But you know, when in that situation, you're only as good as your bloody video that's coming in, the camera people, and the editor of that video. So Ken Saban, I'm going to be watching Friday, but now I'm going to my Mull 30 and have fun. Okay.
Clark Chapin has a
pithy comment.
Well, it's a follow up on the earthquake.
This is now the Sailing Illustrated TV earthquake show.
I know, but
well, no, it's important.
Yes, the magnitude was 5.8 28 minutes ago on the same area off the coast of Japan, and now 5.1 10 minutes later. Checking on tsunamis.
Okay, so they've upgraded it by a little bit and then downgraded it, I guess. It's not like a second one, was it? Is that what that means, Clark? That they had the original was 5.8 and now they have a 5.1 10 minutes later. That's not a downgrade. That's a second quake, I guess is what he means. Okay, so he's watching Clark, who is a very bright engineer.
He is.
And he's now got it USGS, Julia, so he's not confusing us with the USCS, the United States Coast Guard, CG. Bravo Zulu, to guess who? It's maybe their last time in the Olympics. A lot of people have written them off already. The Finglass class. This was the scene, I think, at the final gate where they go through this gate and then turn, it must be, and then head to the fin. And by the way, can't we use the same course for all these classes? You can argue one course of the reaching finish is better than a downwind. Excuse me. It is. I'm a sailor all my life. I'm a commentator, television producer. Bloody hell. Excuse my poor old back. Why can't we have the same course so people can understand what the hell is going on? Is that too much to ask, or am I Crutonic? Is that wrong? Tell me if you think I'm wrong. You will anyway, which is great. I hope you do. But what a shot.
Yes.
This is Robert Deves, I think he's the guy, he's the PR guy for the class. Brit, terrific guy who does the PR for the Finn class and a number of others. And of course, in third place, and I had to go look up the proper pronunciation, it is Joan. It's not Joan. It's not Juan. It's Joan. And I checked that today in Spanish. It's Joan Cardona. He's only 23 or 24. He just, I think, won the U23 Worlds, and now he's got a bronze from Spain. Terrific guy by all accounts. I've never met him, but Luca Devoti and Gerardo Seeliger and all the others who know him say he is fabulous, as are all these Finn sailors, he was quick to assert. Especially this guy, Zomber Beres from Hungary.
Yes, he was.
And he almost won the gold. This came down to again, another almost photo finish in the Finn class. And Zomber, who's been strong from Hungary, has won the silver, so they're going to be very happy up on Lake Balaton and in Budapest, as we call it. I love Budapest. I've spent a fair bit of time there. But this guy, once again, the Brits have come to the fore, Giles Scott, in the tradition of Ben Ainslie and others in that fantastic class, Russell Coutts, and we just, going back to Paul Elstrom, the Great Dane, what a fantastic job he has done. What a fantastic job the Brits have done, and their coaching, and they have they should be very proud.
Stuart Skaggs says it was a nail-biting finish. 25 seconds separated the whole fleet at the finish.
And Jody Shields is reminding us that, I'll go back to him here, this guy, Joan Cardona is also the e-sailing world champ. There's a lot of criticism of esports in this country on the news this morning about it being kids sitting there twiddling their thumbs. Mm-hmm. And there's criticism from the CR, they think they're God now, in charge of everything, telling people what to do and what not to do. That's a political comment. I don't like government telling people what to do, but they're now, CDC has come out and said, and maybe the WHO, even strange, that kids sitting on their couch twiddling their thumbs is bad for their health and bad for society, which I happen to agree with, as Jody knows. But nonetheless, I should talk, because I spend my every waking hour sitting here in the studio producing television shows and getting too little exercise. Bravo Zulu to this guy and to the entire Finn class, to Zomber as well, and of course to Giles Scott. This was nail-biting. Mm-hmm. It was fabulous. And I can't say enough about this class. And again, I'll say it one more time. I know you have got the drinking game going on World Sailing. World Sailing, the leadership, including U.S. Sailing, who let this happen, and the Royal Yachting Association, who had such great success in this class. The U.S. have not had a medal except one in the last three Olympiads. 0 in 2012, 1 in 2016. In what class? This class. Mm-hmm. Caleb Payne. San Diego, not San Diego Yacht Club even, Southwestern Yacht Club. Okay, he's supported by St. Francis Yacht Club. He's supported by San Diego Yacht Club. He's supported by people all over the country. But the U.S. has had one medal. Now, we're not going to win any medals in Tokyo, in Enoshima. The Brits, meanwhile, dominate this class. Our only medal in the U.S. came from this class, and then we kick it out of the Olympics. And the U.S. Sailing and the Royal Yachting Association lets it happen. World Sailing, you're a bunch of bloody croutons. You are worried. You're chasing money. You're worried about, what you think is going to improve television. There was no better television in Olympic history than what we just saw, except maybe the 2012 match racing finals, the women's match racing 2012 in Weymouth, when the main Olympics were in London. This was, as several of you said, it was nail-biting. It was compelling. I think that's a better word, don't you think, Julia?
Yeah.
It was compelling video. Gareth Evans said, I'd given up on Giles at the final. The guy's in 6th or 7th place. And if he finishes, I think, 6th, he's going to get the gold medal. If he finishes 7th, he's going to get silver. Meanwhile, the Hungarian is sailing beautifully, and he's going to win the race, it looks like. Yeah. Or was it 5th and 6th? I can't remember. That was late last night. Yeah. Ralph Roberts would agree. Ralph Roberts, a brilliant coach, dear friend. a pillar of New Zealand yachting. And we haven't even mentioned Josh Jr. and Andy Maloney, who won the Cup with ETNZ. And then Andy Maloney wins the World Championship, but they send Josh Jr. to go to represent New Zealand at the. I'm not sure, Ralph Roberts, that was the right decision, by the way, but I questioned it at the time. But nonetheless, those two guys, they were friends, training partners, teammates on ETNZ. Brilliant. Andy Cox, you haven't mentioned Finn Class RIP, terrible decision. Yeah, I have mentioned it now. Magnus Wheatley is watching.
Good.
I commend you once again to his free email newsletter that comes out. He is prolific. He produces these things almost every day, even on the weekends. And he has written not only about the Brits and their huge success at the Olympics, again, in his column and his post today, rule69blog.com. Rule69, RULE69 blog.com. I think that's it. Is that right? Rule69. Yeah, rule69blog.com. Magnus wrote yesterday a piece about Giles Scott and how strong this Finn class is and how amazing. And everybody said, oh, and people, some of the detractors of the Brits or of Giles or the Finn class said, this is not such a major performance. This is not God-given, or this is not, the Greek gods. This is not Zeus. But excuse me, it was. And how this guy found the ability through, he jibed. In the Finn class, if it's breezy, they put up code flag Oscar. And that means Rule 42, the pumping, ooching, rocking rule, is off. And it's open season, as we would say, in Michigan. Open season meaning you can go hunting and shoot what you want. So Oscar goes up, and now you can pump to your heart's content, but only in uprange. I think it's over 11, 12, 13 knots. I can't remember what it is. Somebody on here will know. And when that happens, the Finn not only is physical and tough upwind and technical and all the other things, but now you got a cardiovascular challenge going downwind because you're pumping like crazy to propel the boat downwind. In light air, you can't do that because, and properly so. I think it's a good rule. And by the way, they can turn it on and off during the race. One of you said last night on the watch party that once they start, they can't turn it on. That's not true. They can turn it on and off. So it applies equally to everybody coming down a given leg. You can't turn it on halfway down the leg, the downwind leg. So instead, because the Oscar flag was not displayed and it was fairly lightish, it was 8, 9, 10 knots, I guess, yesterday for this Finn medal race, they are jibing, turning the boat, the back end of the boat through the eye of the wind. For those of you who are not, you're all keen racing sailors. Jibing, and when you jibe, it is legal to roll the boat to leeward, roll it back to windward, which brings the sail against the wind, pull the main sheet hard. Where am I disappearing behind Giles there? Hard across, which is a pump. It's a legal pump. The boat jibes. Now it's over on the other tack, having put the back of the boat through the eye of the wind. And now the wind's coming from you. You heel the boat over on the new leeward side and get one good rock to windward, and you could squirt yourself twice legally downwind. Now, the jury was all running around with their purple flags watching all this. I didn't hear any penalties in the Finn class. So, they were all well, and they were well behaved, but they're jibing their way downhill instead of pumping like crazy, which you could do if the Oscar flag were up and there were more breeze. So it's still physical. And I don't know how he got him, because tell you what, he's not very fast downwind in the light, was my analysis. I don't know what the rest of you thought. Magnus Wheatley probably keenly aware of this too. He's damn fast upwind. He made major gains on both upwind legs last night and yesterday in Japan, and was a little slow downhill in the light. But you put the Oscar flag up. Look at the strength of this guy.
Yeah.
Here is the most athletic, most technical class. Unbelievable. 2,000 match racing as well. Yeah, Matthias Collins is talking about great events and television events, and the 2,000 match racing in front of the Sydney Opera House was also fabulous. Here, well said, Tom Ehman. Thank you, Graham Sweeney. Laser pre-start 2000. Okay. Tom, you need to watch the movie Frozen. Let it go. What movie? Oh, Frozen meaning the Disney movie. I think Jody's being critical of me because I keep bringing up the fin. Jody, you're wrong. They need to keep the fin in. Stuart Skeggs, thank you. 8 knots plus on Oscar turns it on. Romeo turns it off. Thank you. Well done. Bob Steele, Worlds at BYC. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Bob. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. Bill Wingrove's watching. Jody, I don't know why. Come on, I got to get Jody, Julia. Let's get Jody back on the show and ask him why he's... I think he likes the moth. He likes the foiling boats. I'm all for the foiling boats. But I like one big, heavy boat for big people because a lot of us are big people. And a lot of the sailing world are big people. Look at this guy. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll tell you one more thing that was, those of you who are watching it or have seen it live yourselves or the replay. Look at this picture. Right after the race, they all swam together, swam together. Their coaches picked up their boats, the other two boats, and there you have a shot, a screen grab off the television from our watch party. That's John Sangmeister grabbed that last night, and there you've got Cardona and Baresh and Giles Scott in the middle, and Zomber Baresh over on the right. The three of them celebrating in the boat together, the pals that they are. This is the sign of a fabulous class. And the TV guys got it. Dennis Harvey got a lot of it. And Robert Deeves got a lot of it. Because look at these pictures. Mm-hmm. And if you could not have scripted a better fin finale, as I called it, not a fandango. It was a finale to be proud of across the sport, across the world. And they are a class act to the end. Jody Shields, I agree with you, Tom, but you're using a lot of energy for something that won't change. Money has spoken.
Oh, I hope not.
Jody, you hope not, Julia? Jody, I disagree. Money has spoken, and unfortunately they're chasing classes that they think, because remember, the Finn sailors own the Finn class. They don't know who owns the Nacra class. And if Ben Remmacher is on here, oh yeah, we know. They don't know who owns it. They don't know who owns the 49er. I'm talking about the class, who's getting the royalties, how much they're getting on equipment, and so on. Finn class is very clear. You can build, if you've got a boat that measures, you can build one. You get a license to build, mass produce them, and so on. I simplified a bit. And Jody, I'm, if nothing else, persistent, and I'm not going to let this one go. And I believe in something. And when, if people on here, you, the FOSI, I trust the marketplace. I trust the FOSI more than just about anything else in my life. The marketplace, and you are the marketplace. If people came on here and said, shut the STFU, you're wrong, and one or two people do that, most everybody else is absolutely right. So I'm not going to let it down. I'm not going to let up. Paul Henderson is on, the esteemed past president of what was IYRU and then ISAF. Canada supported U.S. sailing and the RYA for a non-yacht club off-the-beach experimental equipment and format events, getting rid of the fin, ridiculous, double exclamation point. And anybody, if you want to debate it sometime, Jody is certainly right to the extent that the decision has been made. I don't expect it to get changed for Marseille. But as Sangmeister said last night, and you saw us comment on here, there's 2028. 2028. And guess who's hosting that event? And if U.S. sailing wasn't so poorly led, it would already be happening. And by the way, it looks like, and Sangmeister, John, can I say this? Thanks, Chris Watts. Stick with it. I will. Sangmeister also said last night, it's looking like I'm not going to name the name yet because I don't think it's a 100% done deal. The next president of U.S. sailing is a training guy, a cruising guy. He's a nice guy here from the Bay Area, but he's not a red-blooded racer. The guy after that, it looks like president of U.S. sailing, who will be president come the lead up to 2028, is one of the most famous yacht racing sailors, so is his wife, in the world. Mm-hmm. Or so we think and hope. And hope, yeah. Right, Julia? We're Absolutely. Not going to name the name, right?
No.
Notwithstanding, he's a member of St. Francis.
Never mind.
And New York.
Yes.
And a superb navigator.
Yes.
And much more. And he's also got a big, heavy, slow boat, a Cal 40. I'm not
And
gonna
he enjoys it.
And Jody Shields, you're also right. Removing the one discipline in our sport that non-sailors sort of get. Why? Because of the America's Cup, because of, well, Sail GPs now, they got the triple race at the end, but nonetheless, match racing is so easy to understand. You got boat A, you got boat B. One's ahead, one's behind, there's a lead change. One's trying to block the wind of the other, yada, yada. You all understand it. And that's why the 2000 match race in front of the Sydney Opera House, as one of you pointed out, is right. And why I go back, I wasn't there in 2012, but everyone who was there, whether they were sitting up on the hill in Weymouth watching or the television, said it was fantastic. So match racing should be in, and Sangmeister's right, Jody Shields is right. And the other thing, I'm sorry to say this because Peter Lester is a good commentator and Jenny Tulloch's a good commentator. Jody Shields is a fantastic commentator. He knows when to be enthusiastic. He's got that rich Aussie accent. He can make a few jokes because he's clever. And you got to have commentators who are like, okay, I digress a little bit. Julie, you know the guy here who's doing the swimming coverage in this country for NBC, Rowdy Gaines. I don't know. He medaled back, probably 2 to 3 decades ago. I don't know. But he's been doing the coverage. Everybody gets to know him. He's back every Olympiad doing the swimming coverage. And the guy is enthusiastic. He's a former medalist. He's got a great name, Rowdy Gaines. I mean, Jody Shields, what a great name. It's part of it. I'm sorry to say it.
It is.
It's part of it, right?
Right.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I feel the same way about the iconic America's Cup.
Exactly. We're not going to be able to solve that one today. Okay, so put match racing back in, as Sangmeister and a bunch of others suggest. Put the fin back in. Enough. Graham Sweeney, let's not exclude heavyweight sailors for the sake of lightweight sailors. If you want equality, that means everyone gets to shine at the Olympics, not just some speed freaks looking for a buzz on their mother's tweaked up ironing board. Graham Sweeney, that's the comment maybe of the year.
Yes.
And there have been some on here. Man, there have been some on here. Okay. You know what? I'm just noticing the latency between when we say and when it shows up here. I'm watching for stream integrity. It's way less than it used to be.
Yeah.
Like 8 or 9 seconds. So that's good. We've been working on that too. Gareth Evans, I was on the hill in Weymouth that day. It was awesome. Travis Mayer, hello to you. I'm too Aussie for most people. Aussie. Jody Shields, you're not too Aussie for anybody. Except when you're drinking beer at 500 on a Saturday morning watching TFE live on Friday. It's hilarious. What were you going to say, Julia?
No.
Gareth Evans, the non-sailors in the audience could Yes. Because of the America's Cup, the connection of the America's Cup. Here we are, our pinnacle event. You can call whatever you want the pinnacle of the event, and that's a pinnacle event of the sport, which is why I also support the offshore event. Everybody knows Sydney Hobart. They know the Fastnet race. They know the Newport Bermuda race. They know the Cape Town Rio race. Mm-hmm. So you should have some kind of an offshore point-to-point race, and it should be in identical boats, and it should be simple, and it should be easy. I get it. And it should involve sailors that are already there, so we're not adding more sailors. They can print, as John Sangmeister said. Okay, I'm sorry I'm repeating, but you got to repeat. And you all don't wait. You go tell your national authorities. You go tell your politicians, your sports leaders. You go tell the sailors. It's got to be by sailors for sailors. We got to stop running the sport for the manufacturers and for and by the politicians who are getting. Sorry, there is some real corruption. You talk to Luca Devoti and so on. I wound up.
Yes.
Rowdy is from Winter Haven, Florida. Bill Wingrove saying down, and my daughter learned to swim in the pool named after him. Great close racing in the medal races today. Fantastic. Lots more of it needed. Tony Veal, absolutely. We've been saying. Christian Price, thank you, Christian, for your son Harry sending that. Harry is a man of few words. In fact, Andy Rose used to try to get more than a sentence out of him at these GovCup at the Rose roast. And Harry Price, who's a GovCup alum, sent a really cool video. You know, he's not Jody Shields, but the guy is very bright. He's a hell of a good sailor, as is his sister Olivia, Christiana, the mother. Yep, match racing on the Nathi. Was that the hill in Weymouth? Sorry, because your daughter silver medaled there, Christiana Price. Olivia did. Lots of people. In fact, the numbers are growing. People must be texting and saying Ehman is
ranting.
I'm not ranting. I'm on a roll. The Finn finale, it was a class act to the end. Look at this medal ceremony. And they all stood together. You got Zomber Baresh, Giles Scott, Joanne. I checked it. Cardona. Now, what are we going to see today? Well, these guys, talk about great Aussie sailors. The headlines in the papers, I put a question mark because it's not a done deal yet. Matt Belcher and Will Ryan they have to just show up. And if they show up, they're going to win a gold. And it's really already, you know, they're going to go out yacht racing here in a few hours. It will sink in soon was the headline in the Sydney Morning Herald, the SMH today. Only a catastrophe will stop another Australian sailing gold. And it went on and on. It talked about Matty Wearn. It was a terrific article. And again, no mystery why Australian sailing is good, why British sailing is good. There's a lot of press coverage. And of course, there's the cause and effect. It goes hand in hand. But there's been a tremendous amount of press coverage. Witness that website, the digital offering of Channel 7 that we were able to watch last night. Okay, here is the medal count by nation right up to today's racing with just the 470 medal races. Another
for sailing.
For sailing, yes, for sailing. I don't care about the rest of the thing. I mean, I do, but why would we put it on TFE live?
No.
So 6 medals to go, and they don't wait. They just count medals. They don't wait and say a gold is worth 3 times bronze. You know, they don't give them a weighting of, say, 3, 2, 1 like some people do. Great Britain leading on 4 medals. The Netherlands on 3, the PRC on 2, and then a lot of countries on 1. So there is so that they do rank them. If you see what the hell is that rank? Okay, that's the rank by total. Got it. 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay.
No.
I don't quite. Now I'm confused. No. I cut and paste that this morning. Total rank by total, and the rank on the far left is different. Maybe the ranking on the left. Does anybody understand this? The one on the left maybe is based on weighting the medals, and then the total medals, and then another ranking based on that must be what it is, because that must be it. A gold. Yeah, see a gold and a bronze for China puts them on 3rd. Whereas a gold, I don't know. I don't understand this chart. It came off Olympic.com, the IOC's website for sailing. And I just was able to grab it before we went to air, which is always my excuse for being crutonic. But you can see who's up there at the top. As we said, the Netherlands and China's doing well. Australia, Brazil, Denmark, Italia, France, Germany, Croatia, as we would say in English, Hungary, New Zealand, and Sweden, the top 10, but there's some ties there, so it's really the top 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, or 15 countries. I don't know. Ranked by potential. The order is based on total golds, followed by total silvers. Thank you, Gareth Evans. Left, Henry Thorpe. Left is done on number, right is done on golds. Okay. I guess.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, no, I get that. That makes sense. The ranking is the number of medals that you've got. Is that right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, got it. That makes sense. The order is based on total gold, followed by total silvers. Okay. Confusing. The rank by total ignores the medal colors. Yeah, okay. The rank by total. Yeah, so that's the far right. That's just the number of medals. and the one on the left is weighted. Okay, that solves that. Thank you, all of you. Very bright Fozy on here,
Yes,
Julia, as
absolutely
usual. It's confusing. Thank you. Okay, we've still got a lot of people on here. We're an hour and a half in, and we're going to wrap this one up. Any other comments that you want to make, please do. I will not belabor a couple other points here, but I do want to make, as always, a couple. Julia, chime in if you want. Tony Veal's back for our Jody Shields inspired segment. Correct or Crutonic? I ask you with this, yeah, I put this on my Facebook page as a caption contest, and I didn't go capture all the captions, but I didn't mean that. I didn't go, screen grab all the captions. But a lot of you made some very funny comments about what is Julia's favorite food. I dedicate this to you, Julia. She loves great onion rings over, what's that restaurant you like, the steak restaurant here?
Harris's?
Harris's, yeah, here. And they're not bad at St. Francis Yacht Club either. I ask you about your television coverage, the 5-ring coverage in your countries. Would you say it has, in your country, in general, been correct or Crutonic? For sailing, are you disappointed by the coverage? Or are you wildly enthusiastic? Certainly in Australia, you've got to be wildly enthusiastic. For example, the U.S., you got Gary Jobson commenting at night on, what is arguably not been great. In your country, has your access to the television been correct or Crutonic by your own estimations? And we'll see what people say, Julia.
Yep.
If anything, they may decide this question is Crutonic. And I want to comment.
Well, it is uneven.
Well, uneven, that's the understatement of the day. Look at, I even got him up here. Some of you have asked, this TV shows the slides and the videos that are playing off this computer that I sometimes switch to, and sometimes I don't. Or I put them in the PIP and over my shoulder or over Julia's shoulder. So that monitor up here is showing. Now, why do I show it on this big monitor? So that if I want to go in on camera 4 and I shoot it here with this camera is shooting that big monitor. So rather than using a telestrator, I can go up here and say, oh yeah, see, this kind of looks like the Olympic rings. Do you get it? No, it does come in handy if you want to say that's Clark Chapin. Oh, there on the left, and over here on the right is John Sangmeister. And that was not political commentary, although it could have been.
No.
Correct or Crutonic? Yeah, for Oz coverage. Peter Stevenson is saying nobody else is commenting on their local coverage. I'll carry on. They're probably David Rowe. Nothing in Canada that I found extremely crude. Okay, now the end. Bob Steele, Alan Andrews has an Andrews 30 Sport. He's promoting all his clients here, I think. Gareth Evans, this morning the BBC failed to cover the 49er FX where GBR had a medal chance to talk about people from other countries. Well, punching each other. Yeah, I saw that. I don't. World Sailing is so afraid of hurting people's feelings or getting the IOC or somebody, we shouldn't say anything. We might upset the IOC. When Henderson was president, he would go in. I mean, I've heard the stories. I've heard stories from other people. He would go over to Chateau de Vidi, which is the IOC headquarters in Lausanne, and go in and say, excuse me, I'm the president of sailing, and you pound his fist on the, Paul, excuse me, you got to do this. Now, it was probably never quite as, punchy as that. But we've got to start to stand up for ourselves. We got to take ourselves seriously. We got to stand up for the athletes. We got to be by sailing, for sailing. HGBR free coverage is much worse. Subscription is only the live feed, not so great. Henry Thorpe is saying in GBR. Matthias Collins, Argentina coverage is done by a host that took the time to learn almost all the sports. He has been doing it since 1996 in Argentina. And since sailing has been successful, he learned pretty well about sailing. Never broadcast the entire regatta, always short parts. I'm not sure what that means, for I forget, is the channel, or maybe name the channel is paid for by the rights. Name Gonzalo Bonadeo. Okay. Well, again, I commend to, if you have a VPN, now that the thing's over, you can watch the medal races tonight at what it would be in about 4 hours now. It's 20:30 our time, which is, it's 2:30 here, it's 14:30 now. So in 4 hours, wherever you are, if you go to that link, but you got to have a VPN to watch live video off the 7 network in Australia. And the VPNs, you can buy one for a month for, $5. And then it's not hard to set up. Anyone can set it up. It's not hard. Then you go click on a server in Australia, for example, because it's free to air in Australia, and that's where you're looking, so that when the television company thinks they're talking to somebody in Australia, because you're on the VPN, which puts a thingy between your local IP address and gives an Australian IP address, Internet Protocol address.
Bob, see the note from Bob Steele?
What's he say?
Sailing Illustrated is moving up the live stream ladder on GovCup coverage.
Thank you, Bobby. We did a good job. We can do a better job. You can never rest on your laurels. With next week. Oh, there's Kim Anderson. Is that the former president of World Sailing? Welcome, Mr. President, former president, as we've just been talking about World Sailing. And yeah, I think we know with 4 or 5 years, well, I'm not going to talk about that. We are doing the World Youth Match Racing Championships at Balboa Yacht Club again next week, and hope you can join us for that. I'll promo that as well. This day in history, sailing related, we got to run this, Julia. Famous day. And I'll probably get canceled for running this. Do you know why?
No.
Did you watch this when I did the tech check?
No.
What happened on this, because you will know anyway, what happened on this day in 1492? Here's your first clue.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what happened?
Yes.
What?
That there was the first trip to America.
So what actually happened on the 3rd of August related to that? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He sailed and sailed and sailed and sailed to find this land for me and thee. No, me and you. And of course, that's why I said I'll get canceled now, because Columbus is politically incorrect. They're tearing his statues down. He was a terrible guy, yada, yada. It's white supremacy. But on this day, 3rd of August, the gentleman, these were your clues, the Santa Maria, which was his flagship. He had the 3 boats, of course, and he was considered the admiral of the fleet. He had a captain on each of the boats, with which he must have been a difficult guy. He didn't get along with either of the captains. He took off from Spain on this day, August 3rd, on 1490, and there's a lot of reporting on it. And you know where he took off? Back on the caption, I think I said where he took off. Well, he took off there, kind of near Seville, between Seville and Faro in Portugal. And it was a place called Palos de la Frontera, down there, just up the coast from Cadiz. And that's, pretty good. I'm not surprised he took off from there. You know why?
Right.
That's pretty good port country and wine country down there.
Oh,
You've got to fill your ship with port and wine.
They needed it to protect against scurvy.
Well, they thought they needed it to protect against sunshine. Hispaniola is the site of one of the first. This is where he landed in one of the first European settlements. Of course, today it's Haiti and Dominican Republic. La Navidad, yada yada. These settlements are founded successfully in each of Columbus's first 3 voyages. There is, believe it or not, I found a photo of the Santa Maria. I didn't know they had photography in 1492.
Yes.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
But they did do a replica in 1892. So 400 years later, they built a replica in Spain. Indeed, they built a replica of all 3 ships and sent them to New York for the Chicago World's Fair. And later this year in 1492, on Christmas Day it started the night before, his flagship, the Santa Maria, runs aground and sinks on the north coast of Hispaniola. The crew are left to found a colony as Columbus returns to Spain. And of course, they were all murdered and got all sorts of diseases and gave all sorts of diseases to the natives and the indigenous people and so on. But there's more. Wait, there's more.
The Pinta and this.
Yeah, I got the Pinta and the Nina and the Pinta, but let's come to that. The wreck did not occur on any planned return trip, as has been widely rumored. All the historians now are saying as though the mere discovery of new lands was enough for the great explorer. On the contrary, Columbus was on a hunt, like world sailing, for valuables, for portable valuables, having already claimed the entire region as the property of Spain, even though it was inhabited by a populous trading and agricultural nation. That nation was told nothing of Columbus's intent. The main commodities that he was now seeking were gold, spices, and people, according to Wikipedia. On 24 December, Christmas Eve, 1492, not having slept for 2 days, get this, Columbus decided at 11 p.m., 2300, to lie down to sleep. The night being calm, the steersman also decided to sleep, leaving, guess who always gets the blame?
Yeah.
The cabin boy. Mm-hmm. Leaving the cabin boy to steer, a practice which the Admiral Columbus had always strictly forbidden. With the boy at the helm, yes, blame the boy, the currents carried the ship onto a sandbank, and the rest, as they say, is history. There are the three boats, the Nina, the Pinta, and on the left, the Santa Maria. In 1893, they actually built replicas of all three over the course of a year, and it was on this day in history that Columbus set sail on his first voyage. You got to cover that stuff, right? It's culturally significant.
Of course.
The American Cup boat race, Julia hates it when I call it that, but it's the America's Cup, AC 30 South. I'll tell you a couple. Hold it, we got breaking news here, do we? Julia, we got breaking news. Well, before we go to the America's Cup segment, Alistair Murray's just chimed in. Hi, Tom and Julia. Exhausted after marathon effort of sitting on my couch for 6 hours a day watching the Olympic sailing. It was so great to watch. Big congrats to Team GBR for being top nation, Australia #2. It was a great show from all. Congrats to all competitors and officials at such difficult times. Yeah, Clark Chapin now back on the Columbus saying, shouldn't that have been a cabin person? Just asking for a friend. Gareth Evans says, sounds like you need a rest before tomorrow. Well, the racing is going to happen in 4 hours. I think he's talking to Alistair. Mm-hmm. So back in the America's Cup, first of all, this thing came out. This was sent by a Fozy after by all accounts. Some of you still think it's going to happen in Auckland. I don't think so. I think it's going to be either in Cork or in Valencia or the Solent. I don't think it's going to be in the Middle East. In Abu Dhabi. New Zealand America's Cup bid results in multi-million-dollar race losses. That was, of course, the headline a couple of weeks ago. And here is a fish called, not Wanda, Squander. Yet another Monty Python extravaganza, a fish called Squander. Your tax is working for billionaires. There's the Emirates on the mast. Easy come, easy go. So what? It's just taxpayers' dough. Little rhyme there. There's been a lot of bad ink down there. I'm not even going to replay it, but, you know, sometimes you can catch one picture says 1,000 words or one political cartoon says sometimes as much or more. Now, what one does here is that the Ineos, first of all, we're not going to have the venue until September 17th. I think I have said once or twice we're going to have the protocol then, but I'm told now that's not the by closest sources close to Team New Zealand. That's not true. They've been back and forth. They've misspoken, and therefore I've misspoken. Protocol's not coming till November, which again confirms what I've been telling you on here. I don't think the Cup's going to happen next year. You've got the Winter Olympics. You've got World Cups. You got other stuff going on. So I don't think there's a Cup next year, but maybe 2023 will be the next Cup. I don't think they'll wait till 2024 because of all the same problems with the Olympics and so on. But the fact that, well, this next little tidbit, one hears, well, the fact that the protocol's not coming out till November leads me to believe that, you know, it's got to be later than that. And maybe it's 2025, who knows? One hears that Ineos Team UK have fired their design team. Nick Holroyd is no longer with the team, or so one hears. And they are going to use the Ineos. Remember, they also now own the Mercedes, or co-own the Mercedes F1 team, Ineos Mercedes F1. One hears that team is going to design their future boats. And one wonders what's going on with Ben Ainsley. We heard his wife has had another kid, and that's why he's not been sailing in Sail GP. But there may be more intrigue coming on that front as well. I'm not going to say a one hears on that yet. But if any of you want to comment, I do hear that, as we expected, that the Ineos, they've got cycling team, which is very aerodynamic. They've got now the F1 team, which is aerodynamic as well as, they're dealing in the friction of the tires and the skid and so on, yada, yada, and the engines. Just wait. Paul Homchick, how much money did Newport spend to host the Cup? The current circus is ridiculous and entirely unnecessary. You know what, Paul, is, in my not so humble opinion, is completely correct. This is a regatta. It should be, excuse me, I'm going to have a little coffee here, Julia. It should be
Yes.
Okay, Dingy. Keep calm and hike harder.
Yeah.
Trying not to pour it on the computer. You've got your Pindar mug, don't you? How's your branding over there? Yep.
Yes.
I texted with Andrew this morning, and he's lining up a very interesting future guest for us here on this show. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay.
I think, in my not so, Stingray says, remember, Ineos is now sponsoring the All Blacks, the famously good rugby team. World Cup rugby, multiple, one of the best rugby teams ever and always. And it's now the Ineos All Blacks. In fact, Stingray up in Seattle is saying they're going to be called, tongue-in-cheek, they're going to be the Ineos Oil Blacks. Okay, well, I'm going to stop there. I've caught my tongue. I'm just going to stop and wait and see how this plays out. But back to Homchick's point for a moment. In Newport, it was the summer of the Cup every roughly 3 years. Sometimes it was 2 years, sometimes it was 4 years, but it's roughly every 3 years in the kind of the modern era. It was 58, 62, 64, 67, 70, 74, 77, 80, 83, and then they lost it. We lost it. So roughly 3 or 4 years, except that 1 2 year hiatus. It was the summer of the Cup, and it was fabulous. The teams came, they stayed there all summer. The college kids went there and were crew, and they got expenses if they were lucky. They got a bed to sleep on and some dinner, some meals. And they sailed June, July, and August. And then by then you had a winner of the Challenger Trials, you had a winner of the Defender Trials, and they raced in September. The costs of the teams put on their own parties. The town sort of helped run the media center. And, of course, there wasn't any television except in 83 when it was about to be lost and somebody sent a blimp up and ABC ran something from the blimp. And, the Americans are going to lose the Cup. But now we make this into a huge deal. We've been spending way too much money on what is a silly sailboat race and a 4-month regatta. You don't have to have villages. You don't have to have all this fancy, expensive activation. You don't have to build hundreds of millions of dollars of facilities.
Yeah.
You go in and use what's there and try to make good and, okay, enough. Ask Shirley regarding the BBC, et cetera, lack of coverage. Okay, Shirley Robertson, we'll ask her. Let's back on that question. That's it. Let's get to the last, the D block here. And I think I have one, maybe I do have two in the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot because Julia would not let me use one.
I know.
Can I paraphrase it?
Maybe.
I'll use it on Friday. It was Olympic related. It was about the Olympic condoms. I tested it on Julia ahead of time. It had to do with Olympic condoms, gold and silver. One of you sent it to me. And
in a minute, you're going to have to tell.
I'm not going to. I'll use it Friday if we'll see. One of you sent this. because of this croutonnicism with vaccines. And guess what? They're now offering, apparently in Australia, they're going to offer, what, $100? We've got state lotteries here, right, Julia?
Yeah.
State lotteries where they're offering big money. If get into the lottery, and if you get a vaccine, you could win, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
There are all kinds of bribe schemes going on.
Bribery schemes. Correct or croutonic? That could have been the question, but it didn't come in until very late. So that's going on in Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Thank you, Ted Ryman, who is maybe our best contributor, especially for these kinds of little newsy bits. And finally, you know how much I like vegetarianism and veganism. That moment your mouth starts watering when your steak is on the grill, do vegans get the same feeling when mowing the lawn? And Julia's just going back to carnivore. I mean, your blood pressure went as did mine. Yeah. I mean, we're also not only tequila soda buffs, but we're carnivores. In Florida, Stingray is saying, who's also making a political comment here, there are rewards for not getting vaxxed. I don't think that's true, Stingray. Stingray is politically not aligned with Texas and Florida. I know, but I still love him. The finish line, just a couple other comments. So this has been a fun segment to put together. I just want to recognize these two. That's Leo and Ibu Koizumi and Leo Takahashi. They did not quite make the medal race in the 49er class. Leo, of course, a contributor here, has been on the show any number of times. He's a real fozy. And bravo Zulu to them. Their first Olympics. Hopefully they'll have more in the 49er class. They were 11th, just missed out of the medal race by a handful of points. He did, along with some of the other kids, but he did a really classy thing as an alum of the GovCup. Sent this video. We played it during one of the live coverage. I want to thank Leo and Ibu and Leo's parents, Rob Fry, who's often on here as well. Great kids. Bravo Zulu to them. Best wishes with the Japanese team. I hope they pick up Ibu, too, at some point. He's a smaller statured guy, maybe too small for the F-50s, really. But love to see them doing well, Leo, with the Japanese SailGP team. One other point, and this thanks to Daniel Grun, the Germans have won 3 medals, the first time since 2000, I think it is. This is a note just before we went to air from Daniel, our Fozy Daniel Grun, who's, of course, German, in Augsburg. Mm-hmm. The first time since Sydney 2000, the German Sailing Federation got 3 medals in sailing. All 6 sailors were on the major TV channel ZDF after this afternoon in German. That's today, this afternoon in German time. Look at this great picture, and they get on there. And Daniel also saying British sailing proved once again why they are the best. And then he ponders why Great Britain hasn't won the America's Cup, given all the Olympic success they've had, is a massive mystery to me. That's thanks to our Fozy Daniel Grun, Germany. But I'll tell you, Daniel, the reason is that the America's Cup is a design competition as well as a sailing competition. It's not just sailing in nearly identical one-design boats. It's also a fundraising and management challenge, mm-hmm. which sailing in Olympic classes is on a kind of a personal level, and maybe with your team and coach. But the America's Cup is the meanest, toughest, hardest, nastiest game in the world, but it's the best game. Speaking of which, T. Hutch had been scheduled. He said he'd come on the show Friday. He's got a conflict now, so he and I are going to record his segment on Thursday, and he is still going to come on the show via live to Skype or recording. That is Terry Hutchinson, to update us on what's going on in his Cup world with American Magic. We'll have that still on Friday, but he just won't be on the show live. If you have any questions in the meantime you'd like me to ask Terry, send them along, please, and I shall do so. We will have live via Skype from London, James Pleasance, the executive director of the World Match Racing Tour. We're going to check in with James because the Bermuda Gold Cup has been canceled for this year, pushed off another year. Congressional Cup looks like it's happening, but the whole match racing circuit is the World Match Racing Tour. Yeah, I do have a World Match Racing Tour sticker. Is up in the air. James is going to update us on that on Friday's show. Any final comments? Pedro Foiling Sailor, our PM said if we pay people to get vaccinated, we are insulting. Is that right? Yeah, for the AC, just need to get the design. John Emmett is saying, yeah, I mean, that's all the Brits need is a good design. So maybe the Ineos F1 design team will do the trick. I think he meant insulting, the PM. Is that your state PM or your federal, your national PM up in Canberra? Pedro Foiling Sailor. Okay. Julia, you're a witness.
Yes, this is a great opportunity to like, follow.
Please do
share.
it. Go down there and push. Julia's too polite. Go down there and push the damn like button. Give us a thumbs up and a heart. We bust our picks to do this for you. And we appreciate the but you can also share it. Go push the share button, share it to your own page. Comments welcome to, even in replay. Join us on patreon.com. As a patron, patreon.com/join/sailing illustrated. We really do appreciate the support, Julia.
And the hearts.
And there they go. There's the hearts and the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Peter Stevenson saying it's their national PM who's saying it's insulting. And Gareth Evans making fun of his colonial. He said, I thought sheep wrestling was a hobby. Oh, dear. Thanks for all that. We appreciate it very much. Yeah. And Julia, anything else?
No. It's been a big sailing week.
Two more shows. One more show this week. Only one more. We get the day off until Friday unless there's some breaking news. Sorry we're not doing tonight, though. We're going to do watch parties, but I think we know who's going to win the 470 and the 470 women. Frankly, some of your countries will be interested, but I don't think that one's going to be that interesting either. And if I'm wrong, well, great. Thanks to all the people who helped today's show. And that does it for us. We'll see you on Friday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Thanks.